everyone, after knowing about the customer environment and engaging customer insight, today we will focus on the most crucial element, the customer, in Chapter 5, Customer Markets and Buyer Behavior. There are four main objectives in each chapter. Firstly, we will introduce about model of customer behavior. Secondly, characteristics affecting customer behavior. Then, buying decision behavior and buyer decision process. And finally, we will learn more about the buyer decision process for new products. Customer buyer behavior refers to the actions taken by customers before buying a product or service. This process might include consulting research engines, engaging with social media posts, or a variety of other actions. Customer market is a market when individuals purchase products or services for their own personal use. Now we begin with model of customer behavior. Company research customer buying decisions in great detail to answer questions about what customers buy, where they buy, when they buy, how and how much they buy. But it is hard to understand why customers buy. So, marketers have to answer the question is how do customers respond to various marketing efforts the company might use? Because of this, marketers want to understand how the stimuli are changed into response inside the customer black box, including the buyer's characteristic and buyer decision process.
So now I'm going to talk about objective two, which is characteristic affecting consumer behavior. As you can see, there are four factors involved in this, which is cultural, social, personal, and psychological. So now I'm going to talk about the first one, which is cultural factors. Marketers need to understand the role played by the buyer's culture, subculture, and social class. And for the culture, it's a set of fundamental values, perception, wants, and behavior learned by a member of society, from family and other important institutions. Marketers are always trying to spot cultural shift to discover new products that might be wanted. For the subculture, is a group of people who share value system based on common life experience and situation. And for the last one, which is the social class, is relatively permanent and order division. In a society whose members share similar values, interests, and behavior determined by a combination of income, education, wealth, and other variables. So for groups and social networks, membership groups are groups in which a member belongs, while reference groups serve as direct points of comparison. Word of mouth influence, the impact of the personal words and recommendation of trusted friends, family, associates, and other consumer on buying behavior. And the last one is online social networks. Online social communities like blogs, online social media, brand communities, and online forums where people socialize or exchange information and opinion. And now I'm going to talk about the second factor, which is social. And the first one is family. They strongly influence the bias behavior. The next one also are the roles and status. A person belongs to many groups like families, clubs, organization, online communities, and each role carries a status reflecting the general esteem given to it by society. So now I'm gonna talk about the third one, which is the personal factors. And for occupation, it affects the goods and services bought. And for the age and life state, is change the goods and services they buy over the lifetime. And the last one is economic situation. It affects their store and products choices. And a lifestyle is a person pattern of living is expressed in activities, interests, and opinion. And for personality and self-concept is the unique psychological characteristic that distinguish a person or a group. And the final one, which is psychological factors. So for this is motivation. Motive is a need that's sufficiently pressing to direct the person to seek satisfaction of their needs. And as you can see, there are also a Maslow hierarchy of needs is arranged into a pyramid, including psychological needs, safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. As you can see, like the safety one and psychological one is in the basic needs, while for the next two is the psychological need, and the final one, which is self-fulfillment. Another one is perception. It's a process by which people select, organize, and interrupt information to form a meaningful picture of the world. People form different perception of the same stimulus because of the three perceptual processes. The first one is the selective attention, the second one is selective distortion, and the third one, which is the selective retention. And for learning, it changes in an individual behavior arising from experience. A drive is a strong internal stimulus that calls for attention, while cues are minor stimuli that determine when, where, and how a person responds. And finally, we have come to the last one in this category, which is belief and attitude. Belief is a descriptive thought that a person holds about something, while attitude is a person consistently favorable or unfavorable evaluation, feelings, tendencies towards an object or idea. And it may be difficult to change because they are usually a part of a bigger pattern.
So let's move to the consumer buying decision behavior. As you can see on the screen, there are four types of consumer buying decision behavior, which are complex buying behavior, variety-seeking buying behavior, dissonance-reducing buying behavior, and habitual buying behavior. Firstly, the consumer can express a complex buying behavior when they highly pay attention to the product purchase, and there are significant variation among brands. So despite we pass through a learning process about the products they are going to buy, they need to adjust their attitude and choices in order to finally make decisions. In that case, marketers need to understand the information gathering and evaluation behavior of customer. They need to help the customer through this learning process. Moreover, they also need to differentiate their brand's features and motivate store salespeople in order to influence their final brand choices. About a dissonant reducing buying behavior, it will occur when the customer highly involved in the purchase, although there are few differences between brands. After the purchase, consumer might experience post-purchase, which means they can hear same rumor about the purchased products, or they can receive some negative feedback from other consumers, which can easily lead to their discomfort. So in order to avoid this obstacle, marketer needs to communicate with their customer. As you can know that communication is the key solution in this problem. Marketers need to provide evidence and support to help the consumer feel good about their brand choices. Finally, consumers can undertake a variety-seeking buying behavior with their low involvement and significant differences between brands. So in this case, consumers do a lot of brand switching, which means the brand switching can occur for the sake of variety rather than because of dissatisfaction of consumer. So in this problem, challenger firms need to encourage variety seeking by offering lower prices, special deals, carbon-free samples, and advertising that reason reason for trying something new. In the next part, we will need to analyze the buyer decision process, and the process starts with need recognition, which means that the buyer recognizes the need, and then the process will continue with information search. In this stage, the consumer needs to look up information based on their need, and the information can be available on many sources, such as personal sources, public sources, commercial sources, or experiential sources. So among the variety of different brands and alternatives, they are required to evaluate them to find the most appropriate product. So after finally considering all options, consumer will make a purchase decision. And the last step is the post-purchase behavior. Next, in the part of the buyer decision of new product, we need to understand the definition of new product. It is a good, a service, or idea that is perceived by some potential consumers as new, and the adoption process is the mental process through which an individual passes from first hearing about an innovation to final adoption. So the consumer will need to go through 5 stages in the adoption process. Firstly, the awareness. In this stage, the consumer becomes aware of the new product but lacks information about it. Secondly, interest. they will create an interest about the product, and then the consumer will seek information about the new product. The third one is the evaluation. In this stage, the consumer will consider whether trying new products makes sense. And the trial, it is like the step the consumer tries the new product on a small scale to improve his or her estimate of its value. The final one is the adoption. In this case, like the consumer will decide to make full and regular use of the new product. We'll all acknowledge that a consumer is a separate individual, therefore it will lead to differences in innovativeness. Firstly, the innovators are venturesome because they try new ideas at some risks. Secondly, the early adopters, they are guided by respect because they are opinion leaders in their communities and they adopt new ideas early but carefully. The third one is the early mainstream adopters. They are deliberate, although they rarely are leaders, but they adopt new ideas before the average person. The fourth type is the late mainstream adopters. They are usually skeptical because they adopt an innovation only after a majority of people have tried it. And finally, the lapsing adopters. They are traditional bound because they are suspicious of changes and adopt the innovation only when it has become something a traditional itself. So we also need to find out the five characteristics which are especially important in influencing an innovation's rate of adoption. The first one is the relative advantage. In this one, the innovation appears superior to existing products. The second one is the compatibility. In this case, the innovation needs to fix the values and experiences of potential consumers and complexity, which means the innovation is extremely difficult to understand or use. The diversibility is the degree to which the innovation may be tried on limited basis. The final one is the communicability, and it is the degree to which the result of using the innovation can be observed or described to others. So this is the end of our reflection video for chapter 5. Thanks for your listening.